You're tuned into another episode of Between Two Trains. I'm Mark Apple.
And I'm Eric Moss.
And today, Eric, I got a big question for you. How you feeling?
I'm healthy and I am happy.
Then you know what? You're in the right place. Yeah, you're in the right place because today we've got David Gore from HealthMarkets. We're going to be talking about health insurance. David, what's going on?
Hi, gentlemen. I'm doing well. Eric, I'm glad to hear you're healthy. You would qualify for any of the many options available in the sometimes wild west of the health insurance market. I'm doing great, guys. Glad to be with you.
It's good to know that I'll qualify because every fall, it's like the last thing I want to do is enroll in my health insurance stuff for the next year when I'm trying to wrap up the current year. It's kind of throws me out of whack. I can only imagine if I wasn't healthy and it was very important. I'm sure it's challenging for some people. Luckily, you're right. It's not so much for me. So that makes me happy.
Yeah, for most, I don't think they could think of something more painful than having to figure out health insurance and related benefits on their own. So you're in the majority there, but we do the best we can to, I don't know if I call it a pleasure, hopefully a pleasureful experience, but as close to as it can be working with the HealthMarkets agent.
David, let's dive into that. Eric gave a great example about, what happens to him when he's, renewing the health insurance. But for you, what are you finding with your clients? What is that you're actually solving for them and helping them out with? I know you make it a pleasure, but what's the real deal?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Mark. So really, what I do as an advisor with HealthMarkets, and blessed to have been that for just over 20 years, so can say decades now, I guess, is I help them navigate the complexities of figuring out the most suitable or the best health coverage for them or them and their family. So that can be the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, and all of the carriers and plans we have available through that, or private coverages, or small employer group, the Medicare space for seniors, and being objective when we do it. So it's really someone to be a partner, a second set of eyes, and help figure it out.
David, who are you working? Are you working with individuals or are you consulting with companies?
Yeah, both. Most of the time it's individuals and families. Small business. I think the stat is 97% or so of all businesses are under 50 employees in America. We do specialize in that space as well with small employer group, but it's primarily the individual and the families that we're working with. Yeah.
And I guess probably the biggest question is, over the last year or so with the pandemic, there was certainly a lot of job loss across the country, which certainly equals people losing their health insurance. Can you tell us what that was like as a health insurance agent, that all of a sudden, this pandemic sort of comes in? We see people starting to lose their job. It's affecting the economy left and right and what people are doing. And then all of a sudden, we've got this whole class of people that don't have health insurance or dental insurance, and maybe some of them didn't even have life insurance. I know you take care of that as well. Can you tell us what that was like for you as an agent?
Yeah, it was almost overwhelming with people losing group coverage. Most of them had an option to go on to what's called COBRA to continue that group coverage, which is normally relatively really expensive because now they have to bear the entire cost of what that was. The employer is no longer contributing to help with premium. So COBRA usually wasn't the route, and really more demand than could be handled. I'm sorry to say, but we were able to help many people and continue to, of course, with either the ACA, right, also known as the Marketplace, healthcare.gov, those plans, or private plans, and keep it as affordable as possible. In almost all cases, certainly much more affordable than the Cobra route, and also solve their needs around dental and vision and life insurance, like you mentioned, Mark, since that was usually lost as well. So we're a great resource for many, many people during that time, and continue to be.
So, David, you 20 years in the business. That is, I'd say, significant. You have seen some things. A couple of those things have been some pretty significant economic cycles.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how does that impact people? And then specifically now, like, what are you seeing out there for families, for individuals?
Sure. So, well, you know what, I guess a nice thing is with so many options available, with the 140 plus carriers that we represent at HealthMarkets, and then multiple plans and options within each carrier, we can pretty much solve a need for almost any budget. So when someone loses a job and money is tight, then we can adjust benefits accordingly. Or, whatever their situation is, as close to 100% of the time as possible, we're going to have a solution for them and help them with the best protection for what is affordable. I hope I answered your question, Eric. Was that the right track?
Yeah, I work with a lot of businesses in the small business space. And so depending on industry, there's kind of some characteristics of, like, the restaurant industry, for example. A lot of the employees don't have health insurance. It's just
that's right.
It's kind of an industry culture. It's not a culture, but it's just an industry norm for a lot of those employees, a lot of those transitional type jobs. And then this pandemic in particular, a lot of those people are severely impacted. I mean, severely impacted.
Right.
And so I just wonder how that, not knowing kind of the details and the ins and outs of the insurance market, what do those people do? Because if there's one thing, regardless economic, whatever, I mean, health scenarios pop up and they're unpredictable.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Yeah. And really great question. Thank you. So, a really good route to go there. And let's say we have the single person who's 30 years old and working at the Longhorn Steakhouse by the HealthMarkets storefront in Sandy Springs, and they lose their position. As long as they have an estimated, fairly, even very relatively low income for the year, then looking at the ACA, where they would get a huge subsidy and can get major medical coverage for even $30, $40 a month because of a lower income and getting a big subsidy to help with that premium. So that would be an example of how we would help someone in that position. Make sure they have coverage. That's what it's all about. Have that health insurance card in hand. Yeah.
That's so great to hear. And speaking of paying for health coverage, let's take a break here and pay our bills, and we'll be back in 60 seconds.
Attention small business owners. Right now, your next customer is looking online for your services. Will they find your website or a competitor's? Will your phone ring or will it be another slow day? Don't let another bad day go by. We're Forward Push, and we help businesses like yours be found in a Google search by creating an SEO strategy for your business. Schedule your free marketing consultation at forwardpush.com right now. That's forwardpush.com.
And we're back. This is Between Two Trains. Today, our guest is David Gore from HealthMarkets. David, love the example of explaining about someone working in the restaurant industry that lost their job and what health insurance is available to them. I'd love to go into some other people that you help. Can you just maybe share with us a couple of your most recent clients? I'm just want to get a better idea of who you help.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mark. So this morning, received a call from a business in Atlanta who has a new employee in North Carolina. And they're a small business. They have 5 employees total. And they called so that I could speak with this family, their new employee, and help them figure out the best coverage for their situation. So here's an example of a business with, 5 employees. Some have families, some don't, where they would rather go the individual family health coverage route than form a small employer group. So it was a referral from a business I know in Atlanta, was my most recent. The one before that, yesterday afternoon, one of my Medicare clients, his wife is turning 65, very close to my birthday in May, and she is eligible then for Medicare on May 1st. So we solved her Medicare need with the Medicare Advantage plan to begin on May 1st. So those are the last couple.
Excellent.
So the small business community, I mean, you work with small businesses, individuals, but also small business. And from my experience, I've chatted a little bit. The bank I work for, we don't get involved in commercial insurance or insurance period. So it's kind of not something that I interact with. But I noticed in talking with some folks, there's this insurance called like MediShare, where it's kind of like a different concept, kind of spawned, it sounded like, after the ACA. What are your thoughts on that? And what is that?
Yeah, so MediShare is a health sharing plan. It is not insurance. So we can't use the words deductibles or co-pays when we talk about MediShare. My thoughts behind it are, it's a good solution for some people as long as they understand how it works. In a nutshell, it is people, we can't even use the word premium with MediShare. They are sharing. They are paying in to a bucket of money, if you will. And then when someone has a medical need, the need for a share out of that bucket of money, then MediShare administers that payment to them, is the way to look at that. So it is an option. It is an option. And when MediShare, and I believe they are still the largest of the health sharing plans out there. To your point, Eric, a lot of them popped up with the advent of the ACA 7 or so years ago. Not to get too technical here, right? And I won't, but when there was what was called the individual mandate, where people were penalized for not having group or ACA coverage, there were tax penalties. Well, MediShare could avoid that, and they were very popular back then. So they're still a viable option. Not nearly as popular as they were when there were penalties for not having the right type of insurance. So said our government.
It's such a broad space. I feel like your normal person understands the concept of insurance, but there's so many details, and then those unpredictable events. Yeah. I mean, do you consult? I mean, do you have conversations with people about who are just, because it can be a very tough, if that's not your thing, it can be a tough thing to really understand the details that really are important when it comes down to bill time, and getting charged and covered.
Yeah. It's stressful enough when there's an accident, an illness, an ER, took our daughter to urgent care last year, and, that's stressful enough. And then if you don't understand your health insurance or an explanation of benefits, then the stress compounds, right, on top of an already stressful medical event. So, what I do, I'm very empathetic. I'm always available, first of all. I've had people call me, clients call me at 10 o'clock at night and say, Dave, I'm at the emergency room. I lost my card. Can you help me with my ID number? So as much as I can, I want to be there for them, just like I would be there for my family or my best friend. And I say that with 100% sincerity. And that's how I operate. But it can be confusing. It is confusing. Health insurance is confusing. So, the best we can do is be as clear as possible. I would much rather under promise and over deliver, give the whole picture. And, in 20 years, I don't think I have ever heard someone say they are thrilled with their health insurance. I don't think I ever said that, but if we could at least make it good, I say, hey, it's good, then that's a big victory. There's a lot of moving parts, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the part where I'm sort of like stuck at is where David earlier was saying that he's got 140 carriers that he works with. And then you start to think about all the different plans of those carriers, and then the individual or the family or the business coming to someone like David and saying, what do I need? I can just imagine, David, your day just being filled with these questions, and then the multiplication of the 140 times all the different plans, really finding what is, I would say, great for someone or for their business just can be overwhelming. And then how taxing it must be over the last 12 months or so with the pandemic, that it is pretty incredible what you're doing.
Well, thanks, Mark. And I'm not the coldest beer in the fridge, so we are blessed to have the Health Markets technology as well, where we put in the county someone lives in, what medications they may be taking, the doctors they prefer, and then our software goes to work and gives plans fit scores, they're called, where that technology starts to whittle down probably the best options, best carriers and plans. So that's a really good start. And then it is experience and knowledge and communication, of course, that then together we help solve their need. So that all fits together pretty nicely.
Have you been with Health Markets the whole 20 years?
Yeah, the whole 20 years. Yeah, out of school way back in the day, I got an accounting degree, and I'm not being falsely modest. It was sheer willpower that got me my CPA, and I audited for about a year with a big firm, and boy, I wasn't happy. I like numbers, but that's about it. So I found Health Markets, and I don't know if anyone ever grows up saying they want to be a health insurance agent when they grow up, but that's where I landed, and I'm thrilled that I did. So.
Put your big boy pants on and go to work. I mean, it's like I said, I mean, growing up, it sounds simple, but then to Mark's point, 140 different options. I mean, how do you even choose? Most people, if they go into a restaurant and they see 140 different types of sandwiches, they know they're going to eat. They know they're hungry. But it sounds like a lot of your value add is kind of simplifying that and give people realistic options based on, what's important and,
Yeah, it is. And of that 140, not all carriers are available in all states. So not that, 90 sandwiches to choose between is any easier than 140, but, that narrows it down a little bit depending on where people live. And it's also, sometimes it's preference, sometimes someone will say, hey, I've had United Healthcare in the past. I want to look at United Healthcare. I'm really comfortable with them. Well, really, probably the most important thing I do is listen. It's not, it's explaining, it's, things, of course, but it's that 30 to 45 minutes of me asking questions, listening, and then again, with the experience, having a good feel of the top 2, 3, 4 things to recommend. Yeah.
That's great, David. So now I'm going to simplify it down to one word. This is something that we ask all our guests. I'd love for you, one word only, describe your business style or your own personal belief in how you do such a great job. One word only.
And I have been accused of being long-winded, so we've got a hard question here, guys. I'm going to do my best. So I'm going to use a word, dutiful, and that is dutiful with a D. I presented to a team of agents in North Carolina last year, and when I said dutiful, a nice Indian lady in the audience. She said, "Did you say beautiful?" And I said, "Well, no, but thank you. You know, that's the first compliment I've received in a few months." So, dutiful. I really, in all seriousness, I think that is a good word. I feel a great sense of duty when receiving the referrals I receive to connect with those people and help them as efficiently as possible. Because you can have a lot of fun, but this is also really serious stuff we're talking about. We're talking about people's health, the health of their family, their finances, and we've got to get it as right as possible.
I mean, you're almost a fiduciary of sorts, acting in the best interest of your client. And you have a relationship with your clients, right? I mean, they work with you for a period of time, or is it just kind of one? Yeah.
I mean, most are, the great majority really throughout their life. I mean, whether, from 20 to young families to retirement age into Medicare. I love keeping in touch. I wish the only thing I long for is more time, and I'd love to keep in touch with everybody even more, but at least once or twice a year to connect, policy review, how are things going? They know that they can contact myself or either of my assistants at any time. We have a lot of neat ways to stay connected as well. So
I'd imagine over 20 years, you've had some good relationships built up.
Yeah, some very meaningful ones. That's for sure. And some really emotional moments too, when life happens, as they say.
Yeah.
That's great. So David, how can people get in touch with you?
Now, thanks for asking. So always please feel free to call. And even if you only have questions, I'm glad to answer those. It doesn't have to be because you need a new policy or you need dental insurance or life insurance. Always glad to talk. Direct number is 470-499-4317. And either myself or Avery or Anna will answer. And that's the best way. And then email, web, Google Health Markets David Gore. Find me on Facebook, Health Markets David Gore Health Markets. One of those should work. And connect with me anytime. I look forward to talking with everybody.
Excellent. Thank you, David, for being here. My name is Mark Apple. I'm the founder of Forward Push, a marketing agency that helps small businesses.
I'm Eric Moss, local business banker with JP Morgan Chase.
And this has been another episode of Between Two Trains.